You missed a spot over there.
Thank you.
You missed a spot right here.
Oh, did I?
You missed a spot over
For me,
there.
improv to a degree is sort of like pop psychology as art. All the techniques that I emphasize in the class have more to do with how do people think and how do people see the world and how do they behave and why do we do the things that we do, and less about how can you be funny and what's the climax of your scene. Those things aren't important to me. What's important to me is the intrinsic human truth that we bring into every drama. I feel a stronger bond with my students in this class than I do in my other classes because every day we're taking risks. I do demonstrations for them specifically because I think it's important that they see I take risks. And I fail sometimes in my demos and we laugh. And it's a great place to make mistakes because it feels like that's just part of it, that life is about making mistakes. First, we did a warm-up where I had the class split into two groups, and each group played the same elimination game. And it's called Zoom Schwartz Perfigliani. So if you just send a Zoom around?
Zoom.
Zoom. Perfigliani.
Is Schwartz, what does a Schwartz do?
Sends it back.
Sends it back, right? So if Stefan sends me a Zoom?
Zoom.
Schwartz.
Oh, no. Zoom.
So what's a Perfigliani?
It's a fake out.
It's a fake out. So if he sends me a Zoom,
Zoom.
Perfigliani, I look at one person and it actually goes back to him. Okay? If somebody messes up, they switch circles. Every time a person makes a mistake in their circle, they have to switch to the other circle. The idea being that as they're playing, it's okay if you make a mistake. It's all part of it, and you get to keep going and you get to play in another group. Part of the elimination is we all tend to laugh when a person gets eliminated, and it's about how can we laugh together at our mistakes and not feel like we're being mocked and not mock, and to laugh to create a sense of solidarity as opposed to put someone down.
We do a lot of games that where everyone loses face. That's what Mr. Way calls it. Well, it's just like really embarrassing, and everybody looks like a complete idiot. But then after you get past that and you've done that enough, then you've seen everybody in the class look like an idiot, and you've looked like an idiot, so you feel like anything goes.
Zoom.
Zoom.
Zoom. Schwartz. Zoom.
Zoom. Zoom.
Perfigliani.
Zoom.
Zoom. Zoom. Zoom. Zoom. Schwartz. Zoom.
Zoom. The other thing is that I always play with them so that they get a sense of the fact that I too can lose face. How do you deal with losing? It's okay. In improv, we're going to make mistakes and we're going to say things that we really should not have said. And that's all part of the process. And how do you deal with that? Well, you shrug it off and you move on and you laugh at it.
Well, in this class, it's all on the spot, so we have to trust the partners we're on stage with. We have to rely on them, hope that we're sort of all on the same page without planning.
Okay, let's get in a circle, please. Large circle. Over the course of the year, the biggest thing that I've seen that has changed is focus. Their ability to concentrate. The idea is we need to take 3 steps to get back into the middle because when we're really, really close to each other, it's home. Aww. You're going to need to take your 3 steps. If you take a step at the same time as somebody else, we start again. If there's a pattern, we start again. If somebody tells somebody else to go, we start again. If you communicate in any way besides to indicate that you are going to move, we start again.
I think teamwork and collective effort is very important in drama. I mean, especially in improv.
Don't be too anxious. Remember to take your time.
Oh my gosh.
It's getting hard for people to see. The idea of it is they need to put their group ahead of themselves. Is that everybody?
Yeah.
You actually didn't have to see them start again, but usually beginning of the year, they start again over and over and over again.
I like improv because unlike regular life, I don't have to sit there and think about what I'm about to do. I can do it. And if it fails, I can rewind and do it again and do something different. So improv gives me a chance to explore those kinds of choices.
Do you remember the gift game where you give somebody something?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Ben is going to give me something, and it's going to be a boring gift, okay? It doesn't matter how boring the gift is, I'm going to respond with a really strong emotion. In fact, I could choose my emotional reaction in advance. Do you guys want to choose one for me? Angry. I will be angry, okay? A hands a gift to B, and B accepts the gift and then responds emotionally. And they have to choose a strong emotion and justify it verbally.
I got you a snow globe.
A snow globe?
Well, I thought you like wintertime, and I know we live in Florida, but it's like snow in the.
It's a snow globe of Florida, and there's snow in it. It's Florida. There's snow in it.
I just really thought you'd like it.
Okay, and then at this point, he's going to. This is an elevation of the game. So he's going to describe it, and each element of that object, I'm going to heighten my emotional response. Okay? What does this gift mean to me? Whatever I feel in that moment, it doesn't matter what I feel. I'm going to justify having a strong emotional reaction to whatever it is that you've given me. And it makes the other person look good because you're taking their offer and you're building on it. Even if it's a quote-unquote boring offer, as I told them to do, you can still build it into something great. Because it's all about that relationship that you form with your scene partner.
I got you this doorknob. I hope you like it. I mean, I know. Of course I like it. You do? Oh, that's so great. Because I was worried about the color and the size of it and the shape. Boy, come here. It's okay.
A lot of the time students, well, anybody who does improv or anybody who doesn't have a lot of context with improv doesn't realize how many things they can do in a scene to keep themselves going. You go into a scene and you think, you just say the first thing that comes to your head and you say yes and everything will work out. It's not that easy for most people. What I try to do is give them tools, small games that they can play within a scene. So for example, what you're saying makes me feel. All right, so Kate's going to help me out here. She and I are going to do a scene. She's going to start by making one offer, and I'm going to respond. What's the first thing I'm going to say?
What you're saying makes me feel.
What you're saying makes me feel. And then I'm going to respond, tell her, I'm going to say how that feels, and then I'm going to continue, I'm going to say a line. At which point she will think, how does that make her feel? And then she will say a line, and we will go back and forth that way. The idea is a concept called reaction and response. One person says something to me, and how do I emotionally feel about what has happened?
Honey, I made you dinner.
What you're saying makes me feel belittled. Mom, I am 16 years old and I'm perfectly capable of making my own dinner. Look, I made a pot roast for you.
What you're saying makes me feel unimportant because as a mother, it is my job to make you dinner.
Students are able to interact better when they think about how they feel about something as opposed to when they're thinking, what's next?
What you're saying makes me feel happy because you never asked me to do anything. I will so very gladly take out the garbage for you.
What you're saying makes me feel so proud.
Remember, if you need something to start your scene, there's some first lines on the wall, there's emotional states, there's attitudes towards your scene partner. Okay? I created all the anchor charts with the students so that they knew a place to start their scene. They understand the different components through which they can create a character. They understand what they want to say, how they want to say it. They understand how to create a clear relationship.
When I just come in with a starting line, I don't really think of where it's going to go or what's going to happen. I just need a starting line and an emotion, and it usually just works its way from there.
I like to use attitudes. So going into a scene with an attitude towards the your scene partner, like, I love you, or I fear you. Things that are really strong that can bring out the emotional connection with you and your scene partner. Students have told me that in a scene, they will actually say in their head, what you're saying makes me feel, and then they will continue their scene. The last thing we did was a long-form improv. Slowly, I've been building them towards long-form, and for their culminating activity, which is worth 30% of their final mark, they have to create a
30-minute long-form improv, completely fresh on stage, brand new for everybody to watch. Theme? Do you want to just go for it? Yeah. Would you rather just go for it?
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey.
is there anything I can do for you, or?
You know what? I just started making the sandwich, so
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure? I mean, I can help you get the I can go in the
Jack, I
fridge.
want you to stop asking questions, and I want you to start helping.
I'm going to the fridge, and I'm getting you some mayonnaise.
Okay.
At first, I found the side coaching really distracting, but then it sort of gets to the point where you can not ignore it, but you stop looking over at Mr. Wei when he side coaches, and you just kind of hear it like it's a voice in your head, like, you know, raise the stakes, be change, things like that.
You want to talk about what happened yesterday?
Sure.
Well, you were watching your favorite TV program.
Cops?
Yes.
We've been doing lots of short form scenes, mostly two-handers over the course of the year, and building on skills and teaching new skills and then trying to incorporate those skills into scenes.
I've got a few more essays for you to.
Oh, the class actually finished them.
I know what you're saying. You need help?
Oh, sure, that would be greatly appreciated. Whew. Here, you take half of
What's
these.
your relationship, guys? I'm unclear about that. Why one's handing essays to another?
We're teachers that help each other rank.
Do you establish
So
that? Don't
is
tell me.
is math any easier to teach than English? Out of curiosity.
No. Kids are dumb.
Oh,
Make it about each other, not about kids or people who aren't there. Make it about each other.
So
I'm going to give you a line. I want you to tell him that he's got it easy teaching math.
you've got it easy teaching math.
What?
Oh, just numbers. Oh.
Just no.
It's not like they're open
Math
to interpretation.
explains everything. Yours is just words. Everyone knows words.
Oh, a word can be interpreted in hundreds of ways. I mean, how do you deal with that? You tell me.
When I'm performing, I feel pretty nervous normally, but it's kind of nerves that you can feed off to improve your performance. It's good nerves versus like standing there not knowing what to do, like because you're so nervous.
There's definitely an added sense of confidence for almost all of them. Some of them are very self-critical, and it's learning to balance that some of them need. But for the most part, the kids are much more confident. They have a greater sense of play. They have more control over their impulses, and they're more aware of what's going on around them. What I like too is that as an audience, they're much more interested in what's going on stage. They're much more cognizant of their role in what's happening on stage. I hate to say it, but they've become funnier outside, mostly because they're freer. They understand the interaction and the humor, and they play more.
Feedback's really hard because sometimes you feel so invested in the scene, you get out of doing a scene and you're like, wow, that was really good, I had a really great time. And then you get feedback that's like, oh, okay, maybe the scene wasn't the best, and you learn from those things. There's some days where I'm like, wow, okay, that was a horrible scene. Let me hear the feedback so I can improve.
From you guys, what did you guys see that you thought was working?
Jack and Catherine's scene was actually.
Why was that working?
They both had emotional stakes. They both had pretty high stakes.
What were their stakes?
It sounded like, I don't know if this is how it was supposed to be interpreted, but Jack was like trying to prove something to his wife, and his wife just kind of rejecting everything.
Jack was totally playing this guy who he sees something and he wants to do it. And I think that's a really strong interpretation of it. I don't know if that's where Jack was going. Why was Jamar's describing a really strong choice that he's trying to prove something to his wife?
Because it relates to his scene partner rather than just something he's doing independently.
Yeah, it's not something he's doing independently. It relates to his relationship. The time I see them become aware of the scaffolding is during feedback. They'll actually say, I think you should have said, or I think you could have played this game, or maybe next time you need to think about this skill. Scaffolding of skills also gives them a language with which to reflect and discuss the work that they do. So you guys heard a bunch of things that you thought went well, they thought went well. What do you guys wish you had done differently?
I think I should have come in Ben and Maria's scene, maybe, because that would have raised the stakes more. I'm not sure.
I think Ben and Maria were moving towards bending the rules more. So then to have you enter and to reestablish that sense of quote-unquote order would have been a really interesting change to impose on the scene afterwards. Part of the goal of the feedback is to find out what's not working for them anymore, what new skills do they need, where are they not paying attention.
It's the same note for both of you. I wanted you to focus on making your scene about your partner, right? What was the scene initially about?
Normally what I do when I evaluate them is I give them multiple chances to show me how they do, and I give assessment and feedback as they're working. And then I take all of the feedback and all of the assessments of all of those different performances, and I give them 1 mark for a summative mark, so that it's a most recent, most consistent mark without it being so much pressure, because you never know what's going to happen on a given day. But for their culminating activity, I mark the 1 performance, because our goal is to become consistent so that we don't need to mark them multiple times. Every time is going to be solid. And that's really scary to them, but they're always capable of it.
Sometimes you'll get these assignments they seem really difficult at first, and then you think about it and you're like, I can totally do this. I mean, I didn't feel that way before I was taking improv, but now I feel like I can take on lots of different challenges.
I'm a shy person, and drama's helped me be more open to people, lets me talk to people I don't know more quickly and easily than before. Like job interviews, it helps with that.
My approach to teaching drama is also more about the affective domain. I really believe strongly that drama is important because it teaches us to be empathetic towards other people, to work with other people better, to communicate better, to see a perspective that is not our own, to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. That's why I teach drama. I don't find it hard to teach. I find it an absolute joy, because every day I come into this room and we laugh.